Good morning, everyone. Afternoon, evening, based on where you're joining us from. And if you are here live, would you mind saying hello in the chat box and what part of the world? I just always love taking that pulse. And we're so glad you're here. Today's Wednesday, July 3rd. And we are meeting today and talking about Happy New Year, everyone. It's the second part of 2024. We've hit the halfway point. And I know Andy and I earlier this week were messaging like where it is a holiday week. We're about to celebrate July 4th and Independence Day. I love this holiday here in the United States. I was like, I still think we should meet because it's middle of the year and I want to talk about that and clarity and goals and creation. And so in some ways, Happy New Year, happy 4th of July. But as we come into this time frame, last week on Friday, I hosted a masterclass called Mid-Year Masterclass, focusing on these kinds of questions and thought processes about creation, reviewing, reflecting, and then recalibrating to what it is that you want to create for the next half of the year. And so this topic is definitely on my own mind and thinking about, because I don't know about you, I'm just curious, how many of you feel like the first 6 months of 2024 has gone to plan? And maybe for some of you it has. For some of you, maybe not at all. Some of you somewhere in the middle. But I'm just curious, again, if you're here live or you're on the Facebook, watching this on Share Success Online, feel free to put it there in the comments too. But I'm just curious, how many of you feel like your 2024 has gone to plan? Right? How about for you, Andy? Yeah, Tracy's saying, laughing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, considering that this house was supposed to be done in 2 years, we're going on 6.5 years. Not exactly to plan. No.
Yes. And in some ways, I love Melissa said, personal life, yes, business, no. And there's just different things where maybe some things went to plan that you set out to achieve or to focus on new habits or accomplishments or things like that at the beginning of the year. And maybe some have gone to plan and some have not. But I just think it's a great time to think about, even in the midst of summer and popsicles and swimming pools and flamingos, right? Like all these fun things that we think about, okay, let's take a moment to pause and think through intentionality of what is it that I want to see shift or expand or grow in my personal life, in my business life, my home goals, business goals, financial health, all of it. So I just love us dropping into this conversation. It's a great time again to just review and thinking about that and then getting intentional. And the one thought that I just want to make sure we share here and really focus in on, and this isn't necessarily new for us, but it's one of these principles we come back to again and again and again, which is having effort-based goals. Or in other words, we focus on habit change, right? There are lots of things you can't control. Like none of you can control sales. I can't control them. You can't control them. No one can control a sale. Now we can influence them, right? We can put out, an offer, an opportunity. We can nourish our network. We can have people to our home. We can go to Experience doTERRA. We can take people there and help them see the vision of this. And these are all good things to be doing, which is exactly what I want you to be doing, is focusing on your efforts, your deposits, your actions, versus as much as you're focused on outcomes. I still want you to set the outcomes, right? I still want you to have the vision board and the dreams and the perspectives of, hey, this is what I'm moving towards, and I want this rank, I want this income, I want this weight loss number on the scale, I want these different things. But sometimes when we get so attached to outcome, we also want to be sensitive to that we're not setting ourselves up to feel deflated and discouraged when they're not happening, at least maybe not on the time frame that we initially desired them. Andy, have you ever had to reset a goal? Have you ever had goals and ideas and achievements, things you really wanted? Have they ever, well, I mean, you just use your example of your house.
Yeah.
Have time frames ever had to be adjusted?
Only every time.
Only like 99% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. The rest of the time, not at all. So,
Right.
yeah, like rank is the best example, right?
Mhm.
So much of rank, especially the upper ranks, has to do with how other people show up and how they're leading out, how they're inspiring their teams. And so we do everything in our power, and then we hold space and yeah, It happens when it
Mhm.
happens. This compensation plan really rewards developing leaders, and I've never seen that work well when it's forced.
Mhm.
It just doesn't stick.
Right.
Some people hit rank, based on personal enrollments. But
Mhm.
as far as a long-term sustainable organization that lasts, yeah, it takes time. And so I it doesn't mean I've stopped setting goals, but yeah, just living with this unattached style to the timing or the people or the way that things show up.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It's so important. And I think, again, that's why we come back to, and what I want you to feel inspired by and like lit up and invigorated to is, what can I control? What are the habits? What are the efforts that I will be committed to that will produce outcomes? Right. And so, as you think about, like, for instance, if any of you are really saying, gosh, I'd love to lose 10 pounds or 50 pounds, or I'd love to be healthier or more fit or stronger, I'd like to feel better in my skin, I'd like to be this dress size or these things, right? Is you can have those, but come home to the habits, right? Which is the things we know, like, oh, my hydration goals. What's your hydration goal every single day? Because you can control that, right? Where you say, okay, I'm going to focus on drinking 50 or 60 ounces of water or more, whatever yours might be. Or you might say that I take my LLV and MetaPower every day, my supplements, and I'm focusing in on rest and sleep and daily movement and, of course, calorie intake and what am I eating? And I want to focus on having greens every day. That's one of my personal ones is I eat or drink greens every single day. Is I focus more on what I do want going in my body or what habits are happening on a regular basis. Yes, you can still focus on an outcome like a number on a scale. But sometimes, again, if it's just the number on a scale, think about if you've had a really healthy, nourishing meal, you've slept well, you've meditated or done your prayer work in your life, and you're feeling spiritually fed, physically fed, you've done a good workout for the day. How are you feeling? Right? And it's like, oh, I'm feeling good and I'm making progress. But if you get on the scale and maybe the number hasn't changed yet, you go, want, want, versus focusing on, I did the efforts that move me in the direction of health and vitality. Similar with your business. I promise if you nourish people, you connect with them, you call them, you host them, you sample them, you educate, you share online, you do the things that help create, you're stirring that energy, if you will, in that pot. It is just timing before more enrollments come. And as Andy's saying, as you nourish your leaders, right, and nourish the people that are already in your business, things they come absolutely with time, but we focus. Let's come home to, again, what are the habits, the efforts, when we think about, again, big vision, but then efforts towards goals, what it is that you want to be intentional about, right? And you think about those things where you go, cool, I'm doing my part to help nourish these things to happen. And so get clear, come home to vision. Yes, absolutely. I love good vision of, well, where am I going? What do I desire? What do I want? And you claim it. And then we match to what actions and habits influence or increase the odds of that outcome. And then I would be measuring my own success by daily and weekly effort. And then you have those cells that come and they pop.
So
And
true.
so it's just one of those things that I know we covered a lot, but I think it really matters because too many of us, self included at times, where we're so attached to an outcome,
Mhm.
then it's easy for my motivation to wax and wane really easily versus like I'm focused on the deposits, the building blocks, and the habits on a regular basis. And that way it's like, cool, I know that I'm focusing in on making progress. And progress, my friends, there's simple formula. Progress equals happiness. When you're progressing, you feel good, you feel alive, you feel lit up, you feel excited. You can also feel calm and confident, right? Because you're like, gosh, these are the things that we're doing and that I'm doing to help move me in the direction that I want.
Totally. So, so true. Man. Um, as I've been reading this book, 10x is easier than 2x. Um, all these principles just ring so true. Like doubling down on what your zone of genius is, like where you really shine, is so crucial. And then sitting in that space of where can I create the most leverage, right? Because we can be enrolling all day long, but if our real goal is growth and momentum, so much of that has to do with partnerships. And so I really want to invite everyone to just ask yourself, what can I do? What conversations can I have? Where can I network? Where can I meet new people? How can I have conversations with existing people to move them into this same zone of sharing, of manifesting, of creation? I think that's where so much of the magic happens. We had Lindsay Norman on with us last week, and she is so good at this. She just made a post on her Facebook that is so good at just attracting, new leaders and engage, starting that conversation with people. So if anybody wants to go check out her post, but yeah, I just love this idea that when we get intentional and when we focus on the effort rather than the outcome, it changes everything.
It is. It really is. And it's so, I think to me, it just feels liberating, right? It's like, these are the things I can control, because so much of our life suffering is we focus on all the things we can't control.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's such an interesting, thought process with that anyway. And so anyway, that's just my hope is as we come into this mid-year and this time to reflect, to pause, come back to like, what do I want? Where am I going? What do I want to create the next 3 to 6 months, this month, this summer, as we move in then to autumn later on and then into the holidays? It's just like, as you think about the next 3 to 6 months, but come home to your habits, right? And come home to your efforts that you go, these are the things that I'm going to focus on doing and creating. And then we know it's just timing before things start to come into more fruition.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So good.
Good stuff. Should we open it up to some coaching?
Let's do it. I think we should.
Okay. So go ahead and raise your hand, and we would love to just serve, find out where you are, talk about what it is that you want. What is it that you want to create in this next season? Where is your heart calling you? So go ahead and raise your hand, and you can do with or without video, but we love to serve and connect. All right, Terry is raising her hand.
Oh, I love our girl Terry.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
So I hear all of what you're saying, and I was just in Silver Club and I had a plan. I had people to do things with me. I had, the goal of 5 enrollments every month and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think I've ever worked so hard in doing that, but everything just kind of crumbled. And then after Silver Club, I went on a month's trip with my grandchildren and said it had been planned, but I just said, I've worked so hard, I'm just gonna not do anything for a month. And then I've had 3 people call and say, hey, I'm going to enroll in doTERRA. And I'm like, where were you last month?
Yep.
So anyway, I just I don't know. I love all of Tiffany's. I went back and listened to a lot of my classes and different things. And I love our Wednesday morning calls. But I think maybe that's just the refiner's fire of, you know,
Hmm.
I was working hard, but I didn't get what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm. Well, part of that I just want to model, like what she's saying is such a great real life example is, oh my gosh, I'm really working towards a goal in a very set time frame. I want it to happen this month, this quarter, this thing, put in the effort. And then some of those, that energy shows up in the following month when you're like, I'm not even really that as focused on it. And so you go, wait, what the deal? Well, do I not focus? Do I not? And we focus, but also with, again, that energy. And there's this beautiful teaching that my mentor, Jack Canfield, taught me, which he would say, have high intention and low attachment. Now it sounds, you guys, like, wait, isn't that like a conflictive statement or an oxymoron or something? But having that awareness, you also, if might also really love the book called The Magic of Surrender by Coot Blackson. He's been on the podcast before, one of our most downloaded shows of all time. But he has a formula where he says, surrender plus trust equals magic. And on the flip side, I think is control plus resistance equals suffering. And so some of that might sound like really, well, wait a minute, esoteric and heady. Wait, what are we talking about? But high intention, low attachment is to have high intention. I'm going to create X amount this year or this month. I want this in enrollments. I have that intention and I'm going to do my effort. But low attachment also has an energy of lightness. Because sometimes what happens, I think, with goals when we're playing, again, there's always an energetic playing field at play, right? Like we speak in frequency more than anything else. So we might speak Spanish, we might speak French, German, English, but the universe speaks in frequency. Again, I know I'm not trying to sound too woo-woo here this morning, but everything has an energy to it. And sometimes when we get so locked in on a goal, it's like we're energetically like, you have to happen energetically, right? Like you got to show up, you got to happen. And it's like, we're so squeezing it versus surrender or low attachment, which is I'm going to put the effort. I'm out in the garden every day, 9 to noon. I'm not literally, but like for the example is like, I'm in my doTERRA garden 9 to noon every day. I'm making calls, I'm following up, I'm sharing, I'm hosting something once a month, or I'm doing these activities. And then you can have this peace and trust to go, I don't know when or how. Oh, I can't wait to see the magic. But I know I've been in the garden planting, and it is just timing of who or how or where things show up. And sometimes also what's at play, Terry, is what I like to call the law of momentum. Is sometimes I might be actively nourishing, say, 5 specific people to become a client, to be an enrollment, and I'm really nourishing these 5 people. I'm connecting with them, But what I'm doing is I'm on the field, so to speak. I'm in the game. I'm doing my part. But sometimes like someone I wasn't actively focused on shows up that I was maybe nourishing 9 months ago and says, hey, Terry, I'm ready to sign up now. I'm ready to get started. And so again, this example is perfect, is you can't control, you just can't. And I know you want to, we all do. It's like we want to control our kids. Wouldn't that be nice? We want to control the weather, the economy, we want to control politics, we want to control these various things. Now we influence all those things. You influence your kids, you influence the economy, you influence politics, you influence these things in your life. But having this sense of the dance where it's like, hey, there'd be no reason to ever grow our faith muscles. There just wouldn't. And I really think, quote all kinds of poets to scriptures, like life is here teaching us a path of faith. And again, I'm going to put my energy in faith of good that's coming versus the fears, but I have to practice that too. That's also practice, right? But you can have a confidence and a sense of high intention, low attachment, where it's like, I know I'm doing my part. I've been in the garden, which you are, Terry. You are a worker. You're willing to put in the work. So keep doing what you can control, which is the things you've been doing. But also may the challenge be, can I have more fun doing it? Can I have more joy? Because do you remember the first 6 months you were in doTERRA? Can you go back to that? Look at that smile come on her face. Tell me about the first 6 months you were in doTERRA. What'd that feel like?
Well, it was just magical. I mean, I had finally found a product that was not only helping me, but my family and so many others. And I wasn't even in the builder mode. I was just sharing. I wasn't, you know,
Yeah. And what was happening? I mean, you weren't even building, you were just sharing. Were you signing people up?
oh, yeah.
Oh. But see look at her face, everyone. And Terry, notice what you're feeling, and can we come back to some of that energy? Because see, it's similar like when a relationship's new, a romantic relationship in the first 6 months, first 2 years, we might call it the honeymoon phase. Well, it's kind of like in the beginning, sometimes a relationship, it's like, oh my gosh, I am so stoked on you. You like air, I like air. You like tacos, I like tacos. Because like, who doesn't like tacos? Right? You don't need to answer that if that's you. But the point being like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And it's like, can I please take your garbage out for you? I would just love to take your garbage. Just want to serve you. I want to do all these things, right? And then if we're not careful, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years later, it's like, you just expect me to take the garbage out all the time. And like, oh my heavens, meh. Where before in the beginning, you're thrilled to take their garbage out, or you're thrilled to make them their favorite meal, or because again, and it's just like, we got to be intentional, but being intentional also about the energy. But what the same thing we do to our business, we do to a romantic partnership. We start layering all kinds of expectations. You better show up for me, or this leader better show up for me. And they're not, and I'm mad at that leader, and I'm mad at this thing, and so energetically, we make it this big, heavy, wet blanket. Our marriage, our business, our goals. And I'm just telling you, when we get in that energy, guess what? You're also slowing down exactly what you want.
Right.
So I'm not saying, because I don't know if that's the case, but realize it's like the beginning. When I said take me back, I watched it, felt it, you felt your whole body energy shift. It's like, oh my gosh, wasn't that we were falling in love? It was so beautiful. I was just in the joy. And the more that you guys can live there intentionally, powerful. Because then you're more magnetic, and they're like, I want what Terry's got. But you also notice your level of attachment. I wasn't even building then, I was just sharing. But you were building, you just weren't, maybe your mindset shifted. And it's okay to also get shifted and to be like, no, I'm going to I want to take this all the way to the top. I want to do these things. Great. But just remember both conversation of high intention, low attachment. I'm going to show up in love because love feels good. I'm going to show up and love on people because love feels good. I'm going to show up and just, oh my gosh, I'm loving this process. Cool, beautiful. Andy, I want you to chime in on this because you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you've lived it, and you see it again and again with our lives. It's not just doTERRA, but how we show up in our lives with this.
Yeah, I just love, Terry, that you're bringing a real life example, and life is delivering to you on a silver platter the chance to learn non-attachment, right? Like I put in the effort. I was ready for this result in this month so I could stay in Silver Club, and life, the universe delivered it 2 months too late, right? Like, so when it arrives, what's your reaction, right? When those enrollments come, you could choose to be angry, upset, disappointed, disillusioned, or you could say, hey, look at that. The universe is responding in kind to the effort that I put in, right? Like I worked hard, and the results are coming back to me now. And so, like Tiffany said, energy is everything, right? So if you choose the energy of gratitude, the energy of, oh my goodness, that I am perfectly supported. That's one of my favorite mantras right there. I am perfectly supported. And so looking for evidence of the ways that you are perfectly supported, I think is the key, and will unlock so much power and potential in your business and everybody who's listening right now. Like the truly, and I believe that with my whole soul, we are all perfectly supported. And so, yeah, I just think you're on the right path, right? The results are coming. And when doTERRA comes out with programs like Silver Club, like Diamond Club, even the incentive trip, they're only there as supports, as scaffolding to help us build the structure, right? Like if you go, like let's use this house as a comparison. If we were going to have some kind of party at the end of building this house, that would be a nice little cherry on top, but it's not the actual reward. The reward is the house. It's the same thing with the incentive trip. If you earn the incentive trip, if you stay in Diamond Club or Silver Club, that's great. That's the cherry on top. But the real reward is the business that you built in the process. And so don't lose sight of what you're actually building, because the programs are where we can't see the forest for the trees, right? The programs are the trees, but what you're growing is a massive forest that's huge and beautiful and thriving. So yeah, just keep the main thing, right? That's what I would say. And you're doing fantastic. So the
I think
results are on their way.
so. You know how you get your enrollments and you get this, and then you get to hear from Dr. Brannick Riggs. And if you graduated, then you got to hear from Emily Wright. And all of those of us that work so hard, I feel like we need to hear from you and Tiffany. We need to hear you guys. We need to be involved in a call saying just what you just told me, because there's so many others that work so hard and are so sad, and I've been with doTERRA 14 years, so I love doTERRA and I'm not leaving doTERRA and anything like that, but I really think that those that don't quite make the goals needs an incentive to hear from, like, you guys, just exactly what you told me. I just really appreciate those reminders.
Absolutely. And I love, if a phone call from Emily was something that was important to you, then if I were you, I would do a visualization exercise where you actually imagined her calling your cell phone and giving you all the words that you want to hear. The greatest gift that you can give yourself is to grant yourself all the wishes that you want. I love what Tiffany teaches about how desire actually means of the Father, right? Like if you have the desire in your heart for a call from Emily, then that desire probably came from a good source. It came from source itself. So like, give yourself that wish. I think there's so much shame around wanting. Like a lot of us are embarrassed to actually state our goals and say, yeah, I want to make $1 million a year. Like how many people are bold enough to actually say that? Not very many. But there is a virtue in wanting. And it's not the end goal to have the desire, but I just think if you were the Santa Claus of your life, then just step in and grant yourself that gift. And you'd be blown away if you'd really go there, what a gift you can actually give yourself just by fulfilling in thought what you want in reality. So just food for thought. And yes, Tiffany and I are here to cheer you on and cheer anyone else on who has ever started a program but didn't finish, or had a goal and didn't make it. And like, that's welcome to the club. This is life. This is the non-attachment club.
Mm, so true.
A sign for me that says that. I'm in the non-attachment club.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, who needs silver and diamond club when you've got non-attachment club?
But why I think again, just the other part of that equation is high intention, low
Mhm.
attachment. And you think about it in that way where it's like, because sometimes when you hear, well, be detached, the law of detachment and low attachment and surrender and things. And then you go, but wait, do I just sit on the couch then and wait for things to come to me? And it's like, there's a marriage between the two, right? Of you do your part. And again, that's why I love the effort-based goals, being clear on your habits, where it's like, hey, I've done my part where I've invested in me and my self-care, my health, my energy, right? I'm being a vessel of the work and the products I represent is about that kind of what we're after, right? That kind of empowerment, that kind of health and energy. And then you think, great, I've also done the part where I've connected with my clients and customer base, my leaders, my prospects, and I'm putting things out there and I'm doing my part. Then you really truly can be in a place, I think, of calm and trust where it's like, hey, I've had my hands in the dirt, so to speak. I've done the things, and it's just timing before some of these things come to fruition.
100%.
I think the interesting part is I was 3 enrollments away from graduating, and within the next month, they just came right in, And so it does go back to that. It was, I'm sure, so I am so thankful for a Heavenly Father who has a sense.
Yep. I think
Amen.
he's got a sense of humor.
Hmm. But again, I just think like for all of us, it just doesn't, you guys, it's just like, no matter whose system or coaching you buy into, there's going to be an element of the mystery or the divine or trust or faith. And so I mean, Andy, it's like, and Terry, we know this, like nothing is like this linear straight line, right? Of like, hey, I decided to be a published author and it was so easy and just I decided, took a few steps and it happened. I decided to be diamond, here it happened. I decided, great, we're just going to build this house and it's going to be so great and happen, in a year. Right? Or parenting, or just all the things of life. There is an element of we get to drop into faith, belief, the mystery, a bit of like, because it's the ability to grow.
Yeah.
And regularly it's just a statement that a friend of mine, gentleman named Preston Smiles, is a dear friend of mine, would say, he goes, you don't need to know all the things that are going to be happening, right? You just need to know the knower, and knower with a capital K, right? Is the knower. And similar, I was talking with a dear friend about the teaching, and whether you're Jewish or Christian or not, I think you can all relate to this teaching out of the Old Testament where, the Israelites are in bondage and captivity for 40 years and they are begging, pleading, praying, hoping, wishing, can we be released? They've had this vision and promise of the promised land. And they get finally, after 40 years, right, this quote, freedom. And they don't get too far down the path before they're what? They're like, maybe we want to go back to Egypt, back to bondage and captivity, because we knew what we were going to eat. We knew we were going to sleep. There was all these knowns. This is a great lesson, again, regardless of being Jewish or Christian. It's a human lesson that's being taught here in this parable that humans love the known. In other words, they love control versus the unknown, where you have to surrender and trust. And it's like, ooh, I've got to, be in that dance a little bit on a regular basis. And I just think it's part of the human experience. And so I love when my friend Preston says that you're not going to know because we love the known. And partly why we stay in what we might call a comfort zone is it's familiar, comfortable, it's the known versus the unknown. And so that, again, your willingness to be there is like, cool, I'm doing my part. I just need to know the knower. And let's take to Andy's point. I love as well that affirmation. I am perfectly supported. Life is working out for me. Even if you don't know how or when or why, you declare that. I don't know how. So I love that we come together in community and talk about these things because, it's like we quote signed up to grow a business, but it really is such a personal and spiritual growth opportunity where you're going to get to learn, you're going to get to exercise those faith and trust muscles again and again too. So, yep, things to consider.
Can I just share a quick quote on this?
Yes, please.
This is from one of my favorite thought leaders and mentors, and a dear friend, Adam Miller. So he played basketball all through high school, and they never managed a winning record. I think their very best season, they won like half of their games. It was, and he worked harder and harder, and just had more and more disappointment and shame in the process because he was trying to use basketball as a crowbar for love. He was trying to leverage love from others as the result of his efforts. And so here's his quote: "Work chained to its outcome is misery. Do what you can, do it better than you're able, and let things happen as they may. The action, not its fruit, is your business.
Mm,
The outcome is not your concern. It's just you and the work and the people who share the work with you. Love the work for its own sake. Perfect love casteth out fear.
mm.
Fearless in love, set ambition free." Isn't that yummy?
That's so good. Do you have that somewhere you can copy and paste it for us or put it on Share Success page or?
Yep, I just pasted it in the chat and in Facebook. So
Okay. That's so good, Andy.
so rich. And his telling of his story, with basketball and life. He's writing a letter to his child, just trying to pass on the juiciest nuggets that he has to share with them.
Hmm.
What's truly his. And this is one of my favorites. Work chained to its outcome is misery. So easy to say, a little bit harder to do, right? But that's
Yes.
exactly what I'm talking about here.
But I love it. It's like falling in love again with the process.
Yeah.
And I had this experience years ago. See, Terry, thank you for asking this question because see how rich this has opened up.
Mm.
But many years ago, like 2 lifetimes ago, when I was still corporate employed, I worked for Robert Kiyosaki. He's the author of all the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books and was helping grow his brand at the time and make millions and millions of dollars. And it was a really fun season of life. But he came to a meeting. He came to Salt Lake for a meeting once. He was based in Scottsdale, and this marketing sales team, we were based here in Utah. And so this was my sales team of like 11 people and myself. So there's like 12 of us in this very small, intimate gathering with him and his wife, Kim, and Sharon Lecter, and all this good stuff back in the day. And he'd just gotten home from like speaking somewhere in the South at this conference, and he'd shared the stage with this archbishop, which is in the Catholic faith. And he was talking about quoting this archbishop where he said, "The process is more important than the goal. For it's who you become in the process that matters the most." And so Robert's sharing this with us. He said, the process is more important than the goal. Learning how to become a millionaire, like you just said, is more important than the $1 million. All the lessons, all the learning, all the growth, because you can rinse and repeat that. You get to keep the lessons. But he said this, he goes, "The process is more important than the goal. For it's who you become in the process that matters the most." And then he went on out to ask this question that was on my refrigerator for the following like 8 months following that meeting. And this question, he said, so the $1 million question is, and again, Robert Kiyosaki's all in the financial education world. And he said it again to make sure he had our attention. He said, so literally your $1 million question is, can I be faithful to the process? And that was so resonant to me. I wrote that again, question down. It was on my fridge for 8 months is, can I be faithful to the process? Similar, exactly what we're talking about. Too many people, it's like the outcome oh, I'll eat healthy and work out if I'm going to lose all this weight, and 3 days in, what do you mean? I still haven't budged much, you know? And it's like, or I haven't seen overnight success. And that's one of the things I know about Terry. She's been here a long time and she's willing and she's doing the work, and it's rinse and repeat a lot of these lessons, like coming and having your own faith and belief kind of filled up today. But one thing he also said, part of that sharing is, again, it come from this kind of scenario, this conference. He said, God will give you glimpses of your greater glory so you can endure the pain of the process. And again, my $1 million question is, can you be faithful to the process? And I just thought, gosh, isn't that so true? Is that's similar what Andy, you so love about James Clear's work in Atomic Habits, is we don't necessarily fall to the level of our goals, but to the level of our systems. Back to systems and process, in other words, for habits, right, guys? That we're like, ooh, that's what I'm hedging my bets on, is my habits and my systems, the things we're doing consistently and being faithful to. So anyway, I love this topic. Thank you so much, Terry, for helping us go deep on such a rich thing that I think is one of those universal principles that we all get to come back to again and again.
Yummy conversation.
Thank you again for all that you do every week, because you guys are faithful to the process. And I look to that at, I'm going to listen to Tiffany and Andy. This is my help. So thank you.
You're sweet. Thank you so much. Yummy conversation. So worthwhile. Yummy.
Love the rich.
Right? When you shared that quote, by James Clear, that we don't actually rise to the occasion. We fall to the level of our systems. It made me think of this survey where they asked grown men, if you had to land a commercial airplane, the airplane, the pilot has died or passed out, and you had to land it. Like, I think it's 80% of the men said, absolutely, I could. Which I think speaks volumes to, at least for men anyways, our inherent overconfidence. But the fact is, we don't rise to that kind of occasion. We fall to the level of our training, our systems, which is such a simple but powerful principle. So
true.
And I think most guys actually think about that as they board an airplane. They're like, I can do this. I got this.
Well, I know my husband does. He does have his pilot's license, so
Well, see, that's a little different.
he is a little
I'm
prepared.
talking
But there's
about the
part
average
of,
guy with
Yeah.
zero training.
But
Like,
even right, but it's so true. But he kind of always, I think, hopes for that, so you can pull out the Superman cape and be like, "Hey, I've got this, everyone," kind of thing. But you're right, that
yeah.
willingness and those thoughts.
Can I tell you about one? There was an incentive trip where, it ended. A lot of the people on the incentive trip were coming back to Utah. So the direct flight from that to Salt Lake was just like
doTERRA.
80% of the people on that plane were doTERRA.
Yeah.
And there was a medical incident, a thing that happened on the plane. And they came over the speaker and said, are there any medical professionals on board? We have a situation, we need a medical professional. And to look around and watch every doTERRA person like, well, yeah, like that's me. I'm a medical professional. I'm a healer.
Yeah.
I'm a ninja healer.
Depends what the medical situation is.
So that was a funny little experience that
Speaking of doTERRA trips, I saw some photos of you like cutting a rug on your last trip, maybe in Greece.
Oh, that was Natalie.
I saw Natalie cutting a rug, but I saw a photo, maybe you're not aware, they got posted, I believe, on Natalie's account, where you are clearly just giving it up. Yes.
Okay. Well, she has been the designated dancer in our relationship, but
designated dancer. Oh, anyone else the designated dancer in your relationship?
Uh,
so funny, Andy. Designated dancer.
no,
No,
we,
there's a photo. I'll get it for you guys. Like,
all
come
right.
on. Like, just give me a second. Let me just
Well,
pull up some social media
the evidence is out there. Can't be pulled back
searching.
now.
You were just like cutting a rug.
We do love to have fun.
Yes,
Jenica says she is the designated dancer.
she is.
She loves to dance. We've had her at some team parties here at the house, and I can attest to that.
I
She,
mean, you guys, look at this. Oh,
okay,
hold
I
on, hold
saw.
on, hold
I
on.
saw it.
Just a sec. I mean, look. Look at him just cutting a rug.
All right, it happened.
He's full throttle. He's not holding back. That's what I love. He's playing full out. Look at this. You see that guy?
Oh, that's funny.
Yes.
We do love to have a good time.
Andy Goddard, you are the designated dancer in your relationship.
Maybe we need to incorporate dance into the Experience doTERRA.
Maybe.
Maybe Friday night, there's just a little dance party.
Right now by the pool, people might actually happen to fall in the
Yeah.
pool.
Actually, the first dinner in Greece, um, it was by a pool, and Kirk Jowers and like 5 other presidentials lined up next to it, and they all fell back into the pool on purpose. It was epic.
Oh, I love it.
And one of our top leaders from Brazil, Ana Paula, she said, "I will stay in doTERRA for life because you did that with me, Kirk Jowers." It was
So
pretty
cute.
funny. Yeah.
I love it.
Love the community we have in doTERRA.
It's so good. Well, pool party guides over at the Goddards real soon.
That's right. Next Experience doTERRA.
Yeah, flamingo floaties on their way. You and Brett will have matching swimmies. It'll be a sight to behold.
Yep. And we'll see who gets to use. Maybe we should have a little contest. Whoever rank advances gets to use the motorized floaty.
Yeah, exactly. Or you know what we should use the floaty for that's motorized is for the snacks and the treats.
Yeah.
And just have it
right.
buzz around the pool and like, hey, here's your next snack.
A charcuterie
Go.
board that's just cruising around the pool.
Yes. Yep, that charcuterie board that's been out in the sun for a minute. Got to make it sweat.
Make it sweat.
Make it sweat. Well, my friends, we just love and adore you. We cheer you on. Happy 4th of July and Independence Day, and welcome to the next 6 months of the year. We genuinely care about what you're up to and love being part of your world and your process too. So anyway, from us to you, we're so grateful. Have a great rest of your day and week, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Take care. See you next week.